Ingrid?
Yes. Oh,
Got
sorry.
it. No, not a problem.
I'm going to be
All
in
right.
transit on this call.
Well, we have everyone.
All righty. Well, it is 1:30. We have everybody. This is the January 24th, 2024 Policy Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. So we have all the committee members on today, as well as board members, Ms. Gordon and Dr. Gwads. See if I'm missing anybody. We also have representation from our legal department. And the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Call the vote on the approval of the agenda.
Dallas, aye.
Boatright, aye.
And Wisniewski, aye. So that is unanimous in the approval of the agenda. The next item is the public comment period. Do we have any public comments, Ms. Cushingberry?
Ma'am. No, ma'am.
No. Okay, perfect. And I did just see that Mr. Campbell has also joined us. Hi, Mr. Campbell. And so we're going to move on to our main agenda item today. It's discussion on the public comment policy. I'm going to open that up with just some historical information and kind of why we are here today. So last year, I believe it was prior to June of last year, the policy committee was tasked with reviewing the public comment policy. In doing so, we had multiple different meetings, both publicly and in executive session with legal representation, where we were given advice on the legalities surrounding our current public comment policy and potential pitfalls that may be there. So we are now here because when the draft that the policy committee brought forward to the full board was heard, it was essentially a split vote, and there were 3 members that were absent from that vote. So one of them being myself. So obviously I missed an opportunity to explain the why behind the draft policy. And I believe it is our charge to come up with a policy that is both acceptable by the full board as well as legally compliant. So that is why we are here today. And based on feedback that I got from that last meeting, there were a couple concerns of board members being in regard to the second public comment period, that there was a desire to remove that second public comment period. And so that is one of the items that I'd like to just put up as the first item for discussion today. If the policy committee is supportive of removing that second public comment period so that we can perhaps use that as a modification to bring this forward again to the full board. So
I'm happy to get rid of the second policy period, whatever, the second time comment. I can't get all the words together. I would be fine with getting rid of the second public comment period in our policy.
Got it. I didn't get the first part of what you said, so thank you for
clarifying. I was making no sense there for a minute.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. So Ms. Boatright is in favor, and Mr. Dallas, I saw you were trying to speak. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I am in favor of retaining section 1A, where it talks about the second public comment policy as is. I think that things are pretty calm right now, and I don't want to do anything that's going to agitate either side or the various sides and lead someone to think we're trying to put our finger on the scale and constrain input. So thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So Ms. Boatright is in favor of removing the second public comment. And if I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Dallas, you are not in favor of removing the second public comment period. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. Thank you.
question I have. How many school districts in the state of South Carolina have a second public comment policy? Do we know?
I
Yeah.
do not know the answer to that, unfortunately.
No.
Can I weigh in?
Yes, sir.
That's a certainly discernible fact. We can find out, but I
Mhm.
think our charge is really to manage the relationship between our board and the citizens. And so whether they're 1 or 73, as long as we're continuing to make people feel like they can speak without constraints, I think that's very beneficial to the goodwill that this school board now enjoys.
Mhm.
Well, my question was this. I believe, Robin, tell me if I'm wrong, that was put in during some of the contentious debate regarding Dr. Moss. Would that be an accurate assessment of when we added the second public policy period?
No.
Add the second public comment policy.
I have to go back and look, but we've had it in there for quite a long time. But
No,
that wasn't the reason why it was added.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, did you have something to
no,
add?
that's what I said. I agree with Robin. That was not the reason.
Have we had it for long before that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Miss Robin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Chloe's hands up, Rachel.
Miss Gordon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Cushenberry and Mr. Campbell are correct. I don't remember the year, but I do remember it was long before Dr. Moss came. There was some contention between, the community and the board and the board and the board. And so this second public comment was created, I believe, to give the community at that time an opportunity to speak. But as I'm sitting on this board now, I noticed that the second public comment is rarely ever utilized. And I recognize what Mr. Dallas said. However, I'm also looking at what our purpose here as a board. And there are many, many issues or concerns that we need to address. And if we're not using that 15-minute or 30-minute period, that's time that we can use to, look at academics, policy, operations, and what the board is here for our community. So I think that 30 minutes, that first 30-minute comment period, is more than adequate based on what I'm observing when our community comes before us. Thank you.
Mr. Dallas?
Yeah, I certainly understand that the intensity has died down. I would like to remind the people in attendance that this is an election year. And things are going to get intense. As a matter of fact, below the surface, they already are. And I think we will have people energized and trying to overlay some other topic into our meetings. And I'm just very sensitive to the perception that we are changing things to inhibit feedback. I'd rather go through 2024 and make sure that, things that are lying low now continue to lie low, so that we are immune to any accusations that we're specifically trying to favor a particular type of point of view or what have you. Thank you.
Dr. Glatz?
Yes, thank you. First, Dr. Wisniewski, I think you made a great introduction on sort of the timeline, what's taken place. And perhaps I can be faulted for not having suggested at the meeting we had this on the agenda to vote on, that we postpone it because you as the chair of the policy committee were not there, and the your committee had worked significantly on this policy. I think Ms. Gordon is correct in that the second public comment period is not well utilized. It is rarely utilized. And I think part of that is because the timing of it is not exact. And that's because we say, that it will occur no later than 9 o'clock. It will start no later than 9 o'clock. But if we have a quick meeting like we did our last meeting, I mean, I ended up having to announce that people could send in their request for the second public comment if they wanted to outside or earlier than the window that we have, published on the agenda. So I do think there's some, the second public comment to me is a little bit problematic. So that's one thing. I also understand exactly what Mr. Dallas has pointed out. We don't want to be looking like we're, restricting people from giving their point of view. Although I guess I would say as part of that, this meeting is a meeting held in public. It's not a town hall. It's not a public hearing. People have many, many ways to contact us and express their opinion outside of these comment periods that are at the business meeting or committee meetings. So I think it's, as Dr. Wisniewski said in her introduction, we've been advised our current policy has pitfalls to it. I think that was the exact word Dr. Wisniewski used. And I do think that the board as a whole needs to come to a consensus so we can move forward and try to get rid of those pitfalls. So if there can't be consensus reached, for example, on eliminating the second public comments, I read this over obviously carefully before we met right now. To modify it, perhaps we should take out 2C. That's pretty benign. The board encourages multiple speakers from a group or organization to appoint a single representative to address the board. Do we really need that there? No, we probably don't need that there. And otherwise we could leave it the same. That would be something that would change it, but not materially change really the ability for people to express their opinion at the board meetings. If indeed the board's wish is to get rid of second public comments, I would then also recommend that we allow the first public comments to be on any topic, not restricted to the agenda items. Right now, we have the first comment period restricted to the agenda items, and the second is open topics, obviously within the board's domain. So those are just my comments.
Okay. Yeah. And Dr. Glatz, thank you you made a good point in the legal pitfalls, and procedurally, the only way to really bring this back up to the full board is either from the prevailing party or group to bring it back forward for reconsideration, or for them to be there to be some change to this draft that was previously considered. So those are the two procedural mechanisms that we have available to us. But as she mentioned, with the legal pitfalls and issues, I have the firm belief that we do need to solidify a new public comment policy that is very much, 99% of what we have here. And we do need to figure out a way as a policy committee to bring something forward, or alternatively for that prevailing party to bring the original draft back forward. Mr. Dallas?
Yeah, following up on what Madam Chair said and what you just said, Chair Wisniewski, I would suggest that if there's a majority feeling about eliminating the second public comment section, to add that 15 minutes to the first. And then that sort of shows that we've not consolidated the actual time that's available to the citizenry. And I definitely feel like removing 2C is an imperative to avoid reputational damage. So I support Madam Chair's comments with just the edit of retaining a total amount of 45 minutes, but having one public comment section, and then that's defensible. I think no one can say, hey, you folks are trying to tilt the scales.
Okay. Ms. Boatwright, do you have anything to add in addition to that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, I'm in my car. Yeah, I just have to acknowledge the fact that I feel differently about public comments than a lot of people on the board, because my crew of parents that I talk to, whether it's at sporting events or SIC meetings or whatever, they would not be at all bothered by us imposing some order on our public comments. So I respectfully disagree, and I will bend to the will of the board, but I will just tell you what my impression is, and the reason that I think we should eliminate and if we don't need to restrict it to the agenda, but I think items on the agenda should get priority. Because if you look at what public comments through the Open Meetings Act is really supposed to do, is that if we're going to take action on an item, that citizenry have the chance to come in and make an appeal to the board in order to sway the vote on whatever is taking action. What we have turned it into, especially in with culture war issues and contentious politics, is sort of a free-for-all open forum for disgruntled people that can come and say anything they want, as long as it's attached in some way to education. And I think that really any of these people could also send us emails, call us, have arranged meetings with us. We can host town halls, because what I hear from my constituents and people that I know being a parent in the school district is that our meetings are seen as way too long, way too chaotic. They don't see the value in them coming in and sitting and waiting with a bunch of people to talk about some issue that is not germane to the agenda and not germane to the schools. So in my opinion, we have alienated the larger percentage of people because they don't feel, and Mr. Dallas wasn't on the board. I think Mrs. Gordon wasn't on the board this time, but we had one, and I can't remember if it was masking or the Beaufort Eagle, where there was a lot of people. And in the middle, some sixth grader had come to talk about school lunches, and it was just, it was an intimidating environment. There was a lot of hot feelings on this issue. And so I think that there are a lot of people that would like to come to talk about the budget, the referendum, the curriculum, the teacher shortage, and those voices are completely being shut out. And I think they will continue to be shut out this year because we will not enforce any kind of oversight that we are shutting down the comments. And I would rather take the other side of that and say, we recognize the value. We have all these avenues, town hall, at the high school, or with my constituents, where people can come and just complain about the school. But our business meetings don't feel very focused on business. And as a result, I think that a lot of people that have valuable contributions to make to our meetings are dissuaded from participating. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I think I understand that I'm in the minority on that. But going forward, I just wanted to put out that's what I feel like from my point of view and the people I interact with.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, your hand is up.
Yes, I would say I don't agree with Mr. Board, because you have 11 districts in this county, and every district is not the same. In my district, we have parents that have 2 and 3 jobs. They don't get home until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Me and my council member, we have meeting in the community, but everybody don't attend those meetings. And if they want to address something in the second comment, then they should be able to do so. And I think when we take something off of stopping people to discuss things with us, we are not doing what they elected us to do. And so I get calls from people from Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort, everywhere in this county, ever since I've been on the board. Mm-hmm. So that's just my take.
Williams here in the office, his hand's up.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I'll just say that I definitely concur with everything that Mr. Campbell is saying. And just the other evening, I even attended a county council meeting and I was not able to make the first comment period, but I was able to make the last comment period, and that I could appreciate. So I think I agree having both comments and not giving people, because we don't know people's flexibility on their schedule, whether they're working, but to give them 2 times, I think that's adequate. And there was a reason why this board went to that, and I believe if it's not broken, then don't fix it. I believe that what we're doing right now is working. Some people may be uncomfortable with it and may not like it, but I do believe that we do have a resolve right now, and that we are showing the community that we are open and willing to hear their concerns. And I don't think that no one is overshadowing the other, because that kid, we did hear his issue, and it was addressed, and not just on one level, on several levels. And I also witnessed the superintendent addressing it in one of our meetings as well. So I just put that out there. Thank you.
Dr. Quads?
So listening to the comments by the committee members and non-committee members, it seems like the one, I believe it's, let's see,
1A.
it's 1A. That
Mhm.
seems like the people are mixed about how they feel about changing that. Let me say that. And so maybe we can go back to what I said earlier. What about eliminating C? And it seems like then we would perhaps have consensus at the board meeting.
Okay. Does anybody have any
Or-
opinion on?
Yeah, I should say not consensus, but excuse me, I really should say, have a majority approval by the board.
Does anybody have anything in regard to 2C being removed or modified? Mr. Dallas?
Madam Chair, I am strongly in support of that.
Okay. Ms. Boatright, how do you feel about that?
Since I'm driving, I don't know what's involved in 2C, so.
Sorry. Okay, I'll read it for you. It's the sub item that says the board encourages multiple speakers from a group or organization, appoint a single representative to address the board. And from what I recall, I believe we even changed the word encourages, just so that it didn't appear that it was too much of a dictation of what they had to do, but more a suggestion.
Exactly, Dr. Wisniewski.
Yeah, that's fine, whatever.
Okay. Well, I'm unsure if removing that will get us further down the road, but certainly if one of the committee members wants to make that as a motion to modify or to strike, we can take the vote on that, and I'm happy to bring it forward to the full board for reconsideration.
Madam Chair Wisniewski,
Yes, Mr. Dallas.
I'd like to make a motion that we strike section 2C from the policy manual, ma'am, for presentation or recommendation to the full board.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Ms. Cushingberry, whenever you're ready.
Motion to strike section 2C from the policy, correct?
Yes,
All right.
GC2.
Okay. Let's see. And it was second by Ms. Boatright. All in favor?
Dallas, aye.
Dallas, I vote right.
Okay.
To bring it forward, aye.
Yes. And I'm going to vote to bring it forward. Dr. Quads, is your hand still up? I'm
No,
sorry.
I wanted actually you to vote, and then I just want to say something pending the outcome.
Yes. Okay. Looks like
I
we're
have-
all.
I'm gonna say motion to recommend to the full board.
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So that will modify the GC2 public comment policy, and will be part of my report to the full board for reconsideration. And Dr. Quads?
The other thing, so if the board's will is approval of this modification, it will make it necessary for the statement that I begin the first public comments with that the board has asked me to do. That will go away because that is based on our current public policy comment, and this replaces it. It doesn't even have that type of statement in the policy. So I just think it's important for the committee to know that. And when you present it at the work session, Dr. Wisniewski, so you're aware of that. And I guess I'm going to talk with Robin after this meeting, but probably we should list that on the agenda, that if this passes, that would go away because it would no longer be our policy.
Correct. Yeah. Okie dokie. Robin, if you can make sure that that's noted at the, and it's going to be at the work session, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Well, we will see, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get a more legally acceptable public comment approved by the full board when we bring it forward this Friday. Does anybody have anything additional to add before we close today?
No, ma'am, just Madam Chair, Dr. Wisniewski, just like to say thank you to Ms. Boatwright, yourself, and the other participants for, taking us through this and hopefully streamline and prepare for what appears to be a very intense and polarizing election season. Thank you, ma'am.
You can pray it's not.
Let me tell you, everything.
Dr. Glatz?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the committee members and the non-committee members that attended today and their input. And Dr. Wisniewski for leading a nice meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see each other